TNT, and you, Lord Alfred Hayes, have held your share of championships from time to time, have you not?
Around the country, yes, and the world.
Yes, indeed. The British with the Empire something or other.
British Empire Heavyweight Championship, yes.
Yes, and
the Hong Kong Heavyweight Championship.
Hong Kong.
Yes. It wasn't worth a great deal, though.
No, as a matter of fact, it was reported that you were attempting to hawk the Hong Kong title.
Couldn't do it.
Got
Nobody
nothing
wanted
for it at all. No. Well, to join us now will be luscious Johnny Valiant himself, a former co-holder of the Tag Team Championship and now a manager of the Tag Team title holders. Would you now welcome Johnny Valiant, Brutus Beefcake, and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Certainly worth to be congratulated. They're certainly making luscious Johnny Valiant quite proud of them with each and every move.
Have a seat if you would,
Each
gentlemen.
and every match.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yes.
Well, now, this is perhaps one of the most colorful combinations, literally, in professional wrestling today. Well, this is a rather garish-looking attire, certainly possessed by Brutus Beefcake. Would you concur with that, Mr. Valiant?
Well, you know, Vince McMahon, unless you've been living in a cave somewhere around North America, Brutus Beefcake has took upon himself, under my tutelage, of course, to don certain attire and to come across in a not exactly a everyday type fashion, and that's why he's got the guts enough, and that's why the man's a champion, and the same goes for Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Well, neither one of these gentlemen there have anything at all to do with everyday anything, no doubt of that. Mr. Valentine, of course, with these gorgeous robes that he's been wearing for years, but appearance alone doesn't make champions, to say the least. We'll take you now to some videotape footage, in which we will see, in a non-title matchup, by the way, Greg Valentine, Brutus Beefcake in action. Let's take you now to the videotape footage.
And Sal Bellomo in the wrong part of town.
And Sal Bellomo's in there with the heavyweight champions of the world. Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, and I have to admit, they're the prettiest looking champions I've seen in a long while.
By the way, we will have a special update next week as it relates to Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo, former tag team champions. Even you will recall that this was a very controversial matchup, which Valentine and Beefcake took the title from the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Well, I was not in the Spectrum that night. I cannot say controversial or not.
You saw it on television.
On television, anybody can doctor up TV, McMahon.
Shoulder breaker, Valentine in control.
I have to see something in person before I make a judgment and call it like it is.
Foot on the rope, referee. Finally taking a look at it, and Valentine rams the knee to the chest once again. Luscious Johnny Valiant, for your information, in case you did not see the videotape, handed, I believe Beefcake it was, a foreign object, and some even say what he handed him was his lit cigar.
His lit cigar. What did he do, take a puff from it?
You're impossible, Mr. Ventura.
I did not see it, man. Like I said, I don't call it unless I'm there to visually see it. I don't buy a lot of tapes. I think Richard Nixon will stand by me on that one.
Brutus Beefcake in control, and Sal Bellomo has yet been able to tag his partner, Red Walsh. He needs a lot of help in there, does Bellomo. Thus far, unable to get any. Now he should make the tag. No.
Well, that was a mistake move there by Beefcake, throwing Bellomo into his own corner. But he got away with it.
Bellomo ducking and makes the tag. Here comes Red Walsh. Side headlock now. Walsh sent to the rope. Brutus Beefcake going downstairs, right back up, and oh, wow, what a slingshot. Big tag of Valentine coming in. Valentine with Red Walsh drops the hammer on him.
And what a hammer that is. Nobody drops a hammer quite like Greg Valentine.
Snaps over the leg, working on a ham area. Now Valentine with the leg up in the air, going for the spinning toe hold. Now the figure four leg lock. Gets down and yes, cinches it up now.
The master has hooked it. This one's all over, McMahon.
Greg Valentine, Brutus Beefcake in the non-title matchup here, claiming victory over Red Walsh and Salvatore Bellomo.
Well, there we saw some of the in a non-title matchup. I beg your pardon?
I said beautiful, Vince, guys. I
Beautiful,
think
huh?
they're both beautiful.
What about some of the controversial aspects of what happened in the Philadelphia Spectrum? Surely, Mr. Valentine, you would have a comment.
Well, I have a comment, of course. The main thing is that Barry Windham is in the hospital right now. That's my comment. And the fact is, I am used to being a champion. I've been a champion for a long time. This young man right here, the greatest professional athlete in the World Wrestling Federation today, and the best looking too, if I might add myself. We went all the way to the top together. It wasn't overnight. It was planned, you understand? We hit the track every day. We hit the weight room every day. We conversed and confided in Luscious Johnny. People think it was done overnight. Well, actually it was, but there was a lot of premeditated thought behind, if you understand what I'm talking about. We are now the World Tag Team Champions. And that's my comment, Vince.
Just how long you will remain tag team champions is a matter of some conjecture. As a matter of fact, we'd like to pick up this conversation right about where we leave it off. We'll be back as we continue with more TNT. Stay with us and we'll take a look at the matchup from the Spectrum. All right, back with more TNT and with the tag team champions, Greg Valentine, Brutus Beefcake. And you gentlemen fervently deny, do you not, that there was a use in the tag team title match of any sort of foreign object. Is that correct, Brutus?
Ridiculous.
Not.
It was a 1, 2, 3, fair and square.
You saw it. You saw it.
Indeed, we did. Now, what we'd like
It was a
is...
scientific professional wrestling match. It was a scientific way we took the fall.
All right, let's take you back then. You be the judge. You take a look one more time. Just take a look at it. Let's take you back to the Philadelphia Spectrum and the videotape footage. Maybe a little closer look this time.
Man, the call was made. History made here in the Spectrum. Oh, 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 man alive. The tag is made. Tag is made. The tag is made. Wow. Don't you love it? I mean, Barry Windham on fire with a drop kick. Brutus Beefcake thrown off, and a drop kick for him. 1 against 2. That looks to be enough. Windham is on a tear, man, I tell you. Outside goes Beefcake, outside. Bulldog on Valentine. Rolling over. 1, 2, yeah. Oh! Windham says, all right, all right. Valentine in deep trouble. I mean, fans, don't you love it? Another Bulldog attack. He got him again. Look out, here comes Brutus. Oh, right on the back of the head. And Barry right there to meet him, Mike Rotundo. Look out, look at Valentine. Luscious John just handed something. Captain Louis Albano coming up now. But look at that, some kind of a foreign object. He ran right across his eyes. Handed Brutus Beefcake, and he used it on Barry Windham. He's blinded. Down for the cover. Oh! I don't believe it. We have new champions, history made. Woo! I don't believe it. Right here in the Spectrum.
Look fair and square to me, baby. And the better team happened to win, that's all.
What a beautiful elbow. What a beautiful hammer coming down.
Yep.
Mr. Beefcake, there was nothing then in the hand of Johnny Valiant. You took nothing out of his hand.
Absolutely not. If people think I had something in my hand, it must have been something that could have been thrown into the ring, and possibly I was trying to get out of the ring to make sure, nobody was to fall over it or injure themselves in any way by some foreign objects that could be thrown into the ring at any
A
time.
lot of debris gets thrown in these matches.
Johnny
Mr.
Valiant,
McMahon.
you deny you handed Mr. Beefcake anything.
Hand him what? What would I hand him? You mean go like this, give him a hand?
That's not what we're referring to. Many state that your cigar was handed to him. How would you
I
respond?
don't even smoke, Vince McMahon.
You don't smoke?
I'm a non-smoker. When I go to jet airports and fly from coast to coast like boarding house toast, I sit in the non-smoking section. I have nothing to do with tobacco or alcohol. Clean living
Maybe
man.
true, but
What a cheap accusation that was, though. That we would use something like a cigar. Professional wrestlers like ourselves, veterans in professional wrestling, champions, use a cigar?
I can see now if this team was a weak team.
Yeah.
This is a powerhouse
We
of
don't
a
need any
team.
help.
Greg the Hammer Valentine is a champion in his own right.
well,
He's a
how do you- how do you-
steamroller. The
how
other
do you
man
account
is
for the
just his
fact
equal.
that Barry Windham was taken to the hospital, and indeed, Mr. Windham suffered eye damage as a result of that match? How do you account for that?
What kind of eye damage?
Severe eye damage, apparently.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Maybe he could have
but,
done it the night before.
I don't believe so.
Maybe he had a hangover. I understand the guy's a bit of a drinker.
Definitely not. No, if ever there was an individual typifies what an athlete should be, it's this gentleman, along with Mike Rotundo.
Jeez, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, we're not saying what
You're
he's
sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
All right, let's take you to an interview now that was conducted with Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo.
Jeez, I hope he's okay.
And you'll get their reaction, and I believe this interview is going to take place at the eye doctor, as a matter of fact. And I can tell you that he's been in a great deal of pain. I assure you of
that's
that.
too bad. Sorry to hear that.
Well, we're happy that you're sorry to hear about
I mean
that.
it sincerely. I am. I'm very upset of that.
Yeah, we're all three sorry.
All right.
Sorry, Barry, for listening. Jeez.
Perhaps an apology then is going to be forthcoming.
I'm
Let's
real
take
sorry.
you down to the videotape.
Sorry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the background, the Fetzer Eye Clinic. I am with Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo. Barry, as I understand from the doctors, the eye is on the mend. And shortly, we're going to be looking forward to the return to the World Wrestling Federation of Mike Rotundo and yourself.
You know, the actual lens of my eye was burned, but I was lucky that it wasn't burned to a degree to where I would lose my sight. Now, I am out of action for a while, and I can't be exposed to direct sunlight to the eye, or the eye can't be touched, such as somebody's hands in your eyes. But I tell you what, I'm getting better, and I'm going to be well very soon. There's some dues to be paid, and the fun and games are over with.
Very, very controversial as to just exactly what the supposed or alleged foreign object might have been. But in the meantime, Barry Windham and you, Mike Rotundo, are out of action, but on the comeback trail.
You know, Valentine's got a reputation for hurting people, and he grabbed Brutus Beefcake along with him and brought him along. And I think Brutus bit off a little bit more than he could chew, because he's got us to face now. We're going to be coming back soon, and we're going after those titles with everything we got behind us, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen. Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo.
All right, your reaction to what you just saw.
Just a bunch of crybabies. The guys, they tripped over their own 2 feet. I was at that ringside, Vince McMahon, the Philadelphia Spectrum. I was closer than anybody outside the referee. And you know what I heard the guy say the whole time? Oh, I can't take it no more, that Windham says.
What?
Valentine, I can't take it no more. I'm wore out.
That's it. That's it.
Beat me.
Exactly.
I can't take it no more. You guys are too tough. Hey, could have been Beefcake that could have pinned him. It turned out it was Greg Valentine that pinned him. Either one of my boys could have pinned him. Myself, if I was involved in that match, I could have pinned him. They wore the men out during the duration of that match. Beefcake was too much, had too much going for him. He pulverized them.
Had a great
and so
deal
did
going
Greg.
for him. Mr. Beefcake, as a matter of fact, you heard Barry Windham state that his eye was burned. How do you account for that?
Well, I have no idea how his eye could have got burned when I came around and punched him, and I heard him saying, no more, so I just got out of the ring and let Greg the Hammer drop that big hammer
more. He
on
was
him.
saying no more.
That's right, he was saying, please
no more.
stop.
I told
more.
you.
No
we don't
more.
want it, Vince.
He said,
So
take it.
Take it, man.
Take
the
I don't
belt.
want it.
Go home with him. Go south. What's he doing, trying to come up with a new gimmick now? He's going to come back as a pirate or something?
What, you got eye problems now? Is that what happened? The operation you said
I'll
on
tell you
his
what's
eye?
wrong with him. Went out there on the beach too
I
long.
think you
I'm
gentlemen-
insulted.
You should be insulted. I think, indeed, you owe this gentleman an apology.
What are you talking about,
Obviously,
apology?
we saw it's blatant what you did. You owe the American public, and especially Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham, an apology.
I don't even apologize to my wife about anything.
Let's get out of
the
here. We don't need your.
And that's all
We don't
that
need your insults. We don't need your insults. Hey, we'll keep an eye out for you, Windham.
All right, back with more TNT. Lord Alfred Hayes is here, and luscious Johnny Valiant, Brutus Beefcake, and Greg Valentine have exited the premises. In a moment, however, we'll take you to Tampa, Florida. And the location piece we will take a look at will we'll tell you all about B. Brian Blair Day. And here's a young man who's not only a great professional athlete, he was a great amateur athlete and does a great deal with amateur athletics. Let's take you now to Tampa, Florida. He'll be joined by Mr. Wonderful, however. Let's take you now to the footage.
Hello again, everybody. This is Gene Okerlund on assignment at the Berkeley Prep School, Tampa, Florida. It is here where B. Brian Blair's first annual kids wrestling tournament is taking place. With me at this time is Mr. Ken Lloyd, who just happened to be the high school coach for B. Brian Blair. And if you would, very quickly, Ken, give us an overview of this great tournament that's being held here this week.
Well, what we're trying to do is get the athletes 14 and under to participate in amateur wrestling, to promote wrestling in the state of Florida. We have an excellent high school program here in Florida, so we need to get a good feeder system, and this, in conjunction with the PAL Sports, I feel is going to be a good feeder system for that high school program.
All right, we're talking about the Tampa Police Athletic League and the World Wrestling Federation, and it is really a tremendous, tremendous event. This is where it all begins,
Right.
I guess.
This is it. They begin at age 5, age 4, and they go on up into the professional ranks from there.
Okay, on that note, let's swing over to Paul Orndorff and B. Brian Blair as they talk to the kids here on the mat.
Remember, kids, just like I said, we're going to always show sportsmanship. We're going to shake hands before and after, whether you win or lose. Yes, Paul?
Why do they have to shake hands for, man? I mean, can they slam somebody? Why do they got to shake hands for?
Because this is sportsmanship, Paul. This is different than in professional wrestling. We're trying to hurt somebody. This is amateur wrestling. This is a sport.
No pile drivers?
No, Paul, no pile driver.
Would you pile drive that face?
I'm going to tell you something. I just saw him wrestle just a few minutes ago. Stand up a minute. I thought this kind of wrestling, you know, you never did check his knee pads.
I never checked his knee pads.
Well, I think he had a foreign object or something in there. What's that?
Oh, come on, Paul.
Yes, sir. This guy had a foreign object.
No.
Yeah, he did. He had that in his knee pad. I saw him have it in his knee pad.
Come on, Mr. Wonderful.
Did you use this on your last opponent?
No, he wouldn't do that.
Yes, he did. I saw him use it.
No, you didn't. No, you. Come on, Paul.
Okay.
Come on.
He had a foreign object in his
You
knee.
used to do this kind of stuff to me a couple years ago when I didn't like you so much.
Well,
but you're all right.
You deserve
You're
it.
all right. Yeah, I know it.
The kids wrestling tournament from the World Wrestling Federation and B. Brian Blair. What's your name?
Matthew Zelansky.
How old are you, Matt?
10.
How old?
10.
10. Matt, how long have you been wrestling?
Since about February. About 8 months.
8 months. Okay, we'll buy that. What do you think of this this kids tournament?
It's good because, like, when we get in high school, we can wrestle better.
Well, of course you can, and this is a tremendous training program for you. 10 years old and on the move. What do you think of B. Brian Blair?
He's a good wrestler.
How about our special guest, Paul Orndorff?
I like him because he's a good wrestler, too.
Who's your favorite?
Jimmy Superfly Snook and Hulk Hogan.
Very good. Thank you, Matthew. The kids wrestling tournament, the Tampa Police Athletic League and the World Wrestling Federation and yourself. It's going to be a tremendous tribute for you. This is where you started.
That's right. You know, that's where I started, and it's great to see all the little kids have so much enthusiasm. You know, they're all out there with their heart, and they're all trying. You know, we got a couple of kids cry a little after they lost a match, and that's all understandable. That's part of growing up, and we're trying to teach them sportsmanship.
Okay. I talked with your high school coach, Ken Lloyd, about this tremendous tournament, what it's all about. Your thoughts and where we're going to go with this.
Well, it's going to be an annual thing, and, you know, I can't really thank the World Wrestling Federation enough for sponsoring this. They paid for all the trophies. They've, you know, really put on an expense for us, and it's great to see an organization like this to go and help the youth. You know, I mean, it means a lot to me.
Someday, who knows? A couple of these young fellas may be members of the World Wrestling Federation.
That's right.
We have a special guest on hand this week, as a matter of fact, from the Tampa Bay area, from Brandon, Florida, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Welcome.
You know, this is really something great. You know, I've known Brian for many years, and to have a tournament named after the man, you know, I got 2 boys myself, and I tell you what, I just hope they're in the same mold as a Brian Blair, which they are, and he's a super person, a super individual, and I think this is really something really special to have a tournament like this named after him.
Okay,
I think it's great.
You know, gentlemen, the way I see it, of course, You people earn your living in the ring, going into the squared circle.
That's right.
The ultimate in competition.
But
in the
we started right here, too.
Absolutely. And it has to be very gratifying, Brian, for Paul and yourself to come here and work with these youngsters.
You know, I'd like to say something. This is the truth. I used to sell Cokes in the Tampa Stadium and watch Paul play football.
He was your hero when you were a little kid,
He
right?
sure was. And then he turned out to be not so much of my hero. We've had our differences in the past, but I still love the guy and I respect him.
Well, that's because I thank you, and I think it's great, brother. It really is.
All right, tremendous action. And B. Brian Blair and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, I thank you.
I'm not too sure. Maybe that little kid at the first part did have a concealed object down in his knee pad.
By his face, he could have done. He had one of those devious faces. But they were great little chaps, weren't they?
Speaking of devious faces, a little bit later on, to join us will be Mr. Fuji, along with the magnificent Morocco, of course, and they know very little about, or at least practice very little in terms of the sportsmanship that we saw displayed there in the B. Brian Blair annual tournament wrestling tournament for kids. And we certainly wish them well, the tournament, as well as B. Brian Blair. All right, thank you, boys. To join us now, ladies and gentlemen, a young athlete making his way in the World Wrestling Federation, and many have high hopes for the aspirations of our next guest. Would you please welcome Cherokee Indian Steve Gatorwolf. That was a little different kind of a handshake there.
Well, at least I have my watch on the other hand.
Yes. It is a little different. You meet all different kinds of individuals and different styles, different races, different parts of the world and whatever. And your part of the world is certainly well known, at least documented, perhaps incorrectly in many, many set of circumstances in terms of the Western movies and the typical, if there is one, image of what a full-blooded Cherokee Indian is, and his heritage, and how he brings that heritage with him through all walks of life, in this case coming in the World Wrestling Federation. And I must say that thus far, however, at least the fans in the World Wrestling Federation have really received you very, very well, indeed with open arms.
Well, I'm very proud to be here, and I'm very proud of my heritage. I would like to say this, that there was a great Indian star before me here, and that's had a lot of influence on my life and an influence on the people's life here in the World Wrestling Federation.
Without a doubt. And Jay Strongbow is somewhat your mentor, I know, and it's certainly looking over your shoulder somewhat, but he thinks that indeed you're going to be the greatest Indian wrestler of all time. He thinks the potential is there.
Well, if I could just be just about as half as good as he was, I think we might accomplish that.
All right, well, let's take a look at just how good you are. Let's take you now to some videotape footage of Steve Gatorwolf in the squared circle.
All right, Gatorwolf making his very first appearance here in the World Wrestling Federation, full-blooded Cherokee. I think Mr. X knows what to make of this Cherokee Indian. Whoa! X is getting out of dodge. Gatorwolf. Rather unusual looking physique on Gatorwolf.
Well, you know, if you ever see most of the Indian wrestlers, you know, they do look quite a bit alike. This is usually their, for whatever reason, I don't know, but this is their physical appearance. I don't know if that's got to do anything with their heritage or what, but you watch, he's a big fella. He's got a lot of speed. He moves very, very well. And we can't see actually too much he can do right now because Mr. X is spending most of his time outside the ring.
Gatorwolf locking up now. No. Nice arm drag takedown. Nicely done. Ooh, ma! The body slam. and X decides to exit. Mr. X a little puzzled over the tactics of Gatorwolf.
He must know something about this Gatorwolf because he doesn't seem too anxious to lock horns with him.
All right, X taking his time as well you might suspect. Now back into the ring.
But you know, that's very frustrating to a man like Gatorwolf because he wants to get with it. He wants to show the fans, everybody, you know, what he's got. The man's a very talented man, and he wants to show just what he's got. And you have an opponent who, look at this, who keeps running out of the ring. It gets very frustrating. Gatorwolf is telling the referee, hey, are you going to get this guy in the ring or what? Are you going to let him get away with this? He wants to get going.
All right, oh my.
But you don't want that.
No. And X hammering across the back. Ooh, Gatorwolf now. Ooh, my, with a knee lift. And another one. Gatorwolf with Mr. X now winds him up to the rope and, oh, the double chop. Wolf down with a splash, hooks the leg, and he gets it. That's a happy Indian in there. Steve Gatorwolf, victorious over Mr. X.
Your winner, Steve Gatorwolf.
All right, there we go. It was the very first appearance. I know it's a match that you'll long remember, but you've had a number of them now under your belt. Thus far, still undefeated. And I know you're hoping to climb the ladder of success step by step. Tell us a little something, if you would, about your Cherokee heritage, about the Trail of Tears or whatever it may be.
Well, originally the Cherokee Indians were established in the North Carolina territory. And when the government came in and said that they were going to move the Indians around on different reservations, they decided to ship the Cherokees to Oklahoma. A lot of the Cherokees died on the way, and it was called the Trail of Tears. Now, the U.S. government signed 100 peace treaties with the Cherokee Indians, and the U.S. government broke 101 peace treaties with the Cherokees.
Signed 100, broke 101. That sounds, well, I must say the government is functioning just then as it does now, so there's really not a heck of a lot of difference. There is, however, a great deal of difference between our guest currently and our next guest, Mr. Fuji and the magnificent Morocco. We'll be back as we continue with Mr. Morocco and Mr. Fuji in just a moment. Back with more TNT. Steve Gatorwolf was a real pleasant fellow, wasn't he?
He was, and surprisingly well spoken and informed about his own nation, because quite honestly, you don't often find Indians who are informed about their own heritage, strangely enough.
The same is true of Englishmen, isn't it?
We never own up to our past. You should know that.
Yes, I'll say, not to mention the future. Would you please welcome our next guest, Mr. Fuji, along with the magnificent Morocco. Have a seat if you would.
Oh.
A little tight there.
Did that guy, did he miss some bass or something? There's a little odor around here.
Mr. Morocco, I did not detect anything. Did you at all?
No, naturally you wouldn't.
A perfect gentleman, as far as I knew.
Did he park his horse near here? Or?
I don't believe so, no. But if we're going to talk about dress and overall general appearance, you saw how nattily attired he was, nice and neat. And you, Mr. Morocco, I mean, just look at you. I mean, this is vintage Morocco. I mean, look at the way you're dressed. I mean,
well, it's getting cold this time of year.
Cold?
It's starting to get around the Aleutians here. I gotta get mentally prepared. I've had some injuries and things bothering me. Still doing fantastic in the world of professional wrestling.
Yes, indeed.
But as you know, the low pressure zones are working their way through the Pacific now.
Yes, well, if the temperature drops below 50 degrees, then, I mean, it's almost time for you to head back to the bonsai, right?
Oh, yeah, it's getting that time of year.
I'm afraid of that, yes. Well, let's take you now to some videotape footage, you and Mr. Fuji, and we'll have comments from Mr. Fuji right after we take a look at this videotape footage. It'll be His Magnificence at work. Let's go to the tape.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. First of all, to my left, allow me to introduce the manager, Mr. Fuji. And he represents, from Sunset Beach, Hawaii, weighing 267 pounds, the magnificent Morocco. His opponent, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at 235 pounds, Jimmy Jackson.
Jimmy Jackson to take on one of the premier athletes in the World Wrestling Federation, the magnificent Morocco, having a little conversation with the referee.
Well, I'll tell you something, Vince. Jimmy Jackson's put together. You can tell that this young guy, he's been to the gym. He may give Morocco more of a match than what the Magnificent One believes he will.
And the chant of Beach Bum is heard. Oh, my goodness, is it ever? A chant that no doubt distracts Mr. Morocco. Ooh, wow. Left knee to the midsection, followed by a slam. And Morocco all over Jimmy Jackson. Knee lift, down goes Jackson. And thus far, I think, the fans have only served to raise the anger of the Magnificent One.
I would say at this point in the match, Jimmy Jackson would like to tell the fans to keep their mouths shut.
Forearm to the back of the head. Front face locked, really cinched up now. And look at Fuji. He loves what he sees at the moment.
And there's another manager running very high in the Manager of the Year award right now, Mr. Fuji.
Look at Morocco, followed by an elbow. Jimmy Jackson down to the canvas. Thus far, Jackson unable to mount an offensive. As Morocco has him over, referee way out of position, now back around.
See, now what Jimmy Jackson's facing here is the magnificent Morocco's putting all that body weight on top of him. And he's making him work hard. He's making him expend a lot of energy down on that mat.
Fuji looking on, Morocco chopping down Jimmy Jackson. Elbow, and Morocco is devastated. He's sort of toying around, I believe, with Jimmy Jackson at this moment. Uh-oh. Reverse power driver. Oh, my. Jackson won't get up after that. Morocco slapping Jackson. Certainly actions not called for.
Morocco always was a cordial winner.
What?
A very cordial winner. He appreciates a win.
Let's get the official decision.
Here is your winner, the magnificent Morocco.
Proud of yourself, Mr. Morocco?
That power driver gets better and better every day. I just can't. I just don't have words to say.
Could I just interject there? I saw a slow motion replay of that pile driver, and I watched it very closely. His head was telescoped practically into his shoulders, and a shockwave ran up the back and up his spine. That man must be critically hurt.
Boy, I sure hope so, Lord. You know, when you develop a hold, you spend years perfecting something, years working on something, and when you drop it on somebody, you hope they're going to pay attention.
Well, paying attention is one thing. Winning matches with it is another thing. But it was brought out the damage that's sustained. I mean, after the match is over, I mean, it's one thing.
If somebody wants to put their name on the line against the magnificent Morocco, if somebody thinks they are qualified, if their ability is up to par to enter the ring with somebody like myself, then they deserve to get exactly what they got coming, which is the best. The best pile driver in professional wrestling, the best wrestler in professional wrestling, the best star in professional wrestling. I exceed even beyond professional wrestling.
Yes, as a matter of fact,
abilities.
No doubt. I'm sure many would concur with. Tell us a little something about about the darkness. What is the darkness you keep referring? You and Mr. Fuji we keep referring to the darkness. Are you referring to a different side of life? Exactly.
It's a different look. It's a different way. It's a different thought. See, you can learn everything you can learn about one thing, but not until you've experienced the bad side of it, the evil side of it, the dark side of it, can you fully understand the true, total of the entire
In other words,
thing.
you have to understand all of the dimensions in life, then from A to Z.
Back and forth, and Z to A.
I see. And as far as you're concerned, it's Z first, and then you learn about A later, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Something along those lines. We'll have more conversation with Mr. Fuji and the magnificent Morocco and talk about his extra, some of the other things you've done along the outside of the World Wrestling Federation that are quite interesting. You spoke of them earlier on. We'll take a look at some of the other things Mr. Morocco has accomplished when we return with more TNT. Back with more TNT, and Magnificent Morocco is referring to a number of calls from various producers in Hollywood that they're calling you. Why? I mean, for tickets to see you wrestle? They surely not.
No, they can afford their own tickets. No, after they saw us, me and Fuji, Mr. Fuji, our starring debut on Search for Tomorrow, we wowed them. The girls were going screaming, going crazy. I've been getting phone calls. What's the guy's name? Spielberg? Who is that Spielberg?
You don't know. I don't know.
What'd you check on him when we get back to Hawaii? Spielberg, Robert De Palma. I don't know. I'm not familiar. Really, I'm just on a first name basis with most of my Bob or you know.
Well, as I recall, the Search for Tomorrow piece was. I mean, you really weren't acting. That wasn't acting. That was just you. I mean, and fans do chant "Beach Bum."
Yeah, but you've been around those people, that pretty little girl there. You've been around people like that. That's acting, when you can interact with somebody who, not like somebody like yourself who just sits behind a desk playing with pencils. No, this lady here was a legitimate actress. She was a beautiful girl. She was trying to charm me, trying to win me over, trying to get a date with me. Mr. Fuji there, we're speaking very, very dignified, very.
So you feel you have then acting skills. You feel and that's why Hollywood is calling. You feel honestly.
Oh, without a doubt.
You a leading man type.
Naturally, Robert Meacham. Anything you name it.
Well then, if that's the case,
Sly Stallone. Look out.
Very good.
Really?
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Well then, what would you say to if we possibly could between now and next week find some sort of well, maybe the TNT Playhouse or something along those lines. We could devise our own soap opera, and we would afford you the opportunity to show your acting skills along with Mr. Fuji. Would you like to do something like that?
Wait a minute. What you trying to put us on the spot here about?
No, not at all. All you have to say is no. I just want to give you the opportunity.
Are you doubting that we really got the talent? We have the ability, the natural acting ability, the class that.
There's no doubt you have a great deal, Mr. Morocco.
The charisma?
Well, yes, there's no doubt you have charisma. But if you want to show the world your acting skills, then why don't we allow you to have the opportunity? We'll help you. We'll put this in the...
I just saw.
Yes, but we'll give you the opportunity to show your acting skills, Mr. Fuji, next week.
I'm going to have some pretty girls with me?
I could possibly be arranged, as a matter of fact.
We'll go for it.
All right, all right.
We'll go for it. We ain't lost nothing.
Maybe by then you'll find out who Steven Spielberg is. All right, back with more TNT and
now brown cows.
Yes, you do that very well.
Yes.
Yes. I wonder.
What do you have in mind? What do you got? You got
for next week?
Yeah.
For you and Mr. Fuji?
Give us a little clue.
I don't have the vaguest idea. You just agreed to this thing. I don't know. There's enough. You put enough people in hospitals through your career. Why not do some sort of hospital setting?
Lovely. Fuji General.
You think you can handle that? Fuji General?
Fuji General.
All right, Fuji General. So you're not going to back out on this. We're going to go through this acting experience
never backed out
next week.
anything in my life.
All right. In addition to the magnificent Morocco joining us next week for his part in Fuji General Hospital. Along with Mr. Fuji, we will have Hillbilly Jim scheduled to join us. Also, we'll show you some of the Manager of the Year award presentation. King Tonga will be here. Also, King Kong Bundy, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and a special piece on Rowdy Roddy Piper, all of that and more. And I can't wait for Fuji General Hospital. We thank you for joining us for this week's TNT. Take a look at us next week if you would. We'll be back.